Technology and Planning at the Yale Law Library. So today I'm going to talk about alternatives to ChatGPT, other tools. Last year, my colleague Nora Ortiz at the Yale Law Library, sitting back there, hey, he and I started looking at generative AI tools for creating content for a website redesign that we had coming up. And that was before ChatGPT came out, and then obviously after ChatGPT came out, it kind of exploded, and everyone just talks about ChatGPT. But I wanted to talk about some of the other tools that are available and things that you can do with those different tools. I am going to start by sticking with chat interfaces, and the first one I'm going to talk about is Claude by Anthropic. What Claude sets their particular model apart is constitutional AI. So they have a set of values or principles, what they call a constitution, that they use to train the model and also evaluate what's coming out of the model. And supposedly this is harmless training. And they also have 100,000 token context window. So that's the window of text that an AI considers in an instance, which equals about approximately 75,000 words, which is more a larger context window than other models that are available. And then I'm also going to mention Bard by Google, because you kind of have to mention Bard by Google as well. So this is Claude's Anthropic, or Anthropic's Claude model, and they'll tell you a little bit about their constitutional AI. I have found that Claude is comparable for what we use it for, comparable to what ChatGPT will produce as well. But because it has these values and principles, it's not quite as much fun as ChatGPT. It also, I was interacting with Claude at one point. I was using it to try to program an API to summarize various legal documents. And it told me that it had these 4 models, including a Claude-Law model. So what do you think, real or fake? Claude-Law. It's a hallucination. I contacted Anthropic's customer service, and unfortunately the Claude-Law model is just a hallucination. So even though it has a larger context window, Claude is not necessarily immune to hallucinations. I do want to talk about underlying models for these interfaces. You know, a lot of times we're using these tools, and we're interfacing through a chat interface or some other interface, but there's often an underlying model behind that. For example, here, Bard has PaLM 2, which runs a lot of Google's generative AI types of things. OpenAI also has lots of different models. Here, for example, is a model called Text Curii-003, which is, they call it a very capable model, but faster and lower cost than their later models. So, you know, if you're getting started with these things, sometimes you don't necessarily want to interact with the model that costs the most money or those types of things, so you can use a different model as well. And if you visit the OpenAI playground, you can interact with these models without having to do any Python programming or interact with the API. Here's an example of the playground, and you can see that you can select different models that they have available, and then you can also select some different features to fine-tune the content that you're getting from the particular model. So this probably isn't the best category, but I just decided to call it text generators writing helpers. The ones I'm most familiar with are Grammarly and Jasper. Those are the ones that we started using for creating content for the Yale Law Library website, in addition to OpenAI. The really great thing about Grammarly, if you haven't used it, is in addition to generating content, it's really useful for setting tone, not just setting tone when you're generating content, but analyzing tone as well. I find this particularly useful. You have to write emails to faculty, students, things like that, and you want to make sure that you're striking the right tone. I do love that they send these kind of reports that analyze your writing, and I really appreciate that it quantifies my work product at 4% friendly. So I can tell you, if we're going to interact together, you need to be ready because I'm like 4% friendly. And that seems to be like the max that I can hit. That's my ceiling. I don't go above 4%. Jasper is a really useful tool. It's really meant for copywriters and marketers and those types of things. But one of the really nice things about it, even though you can kind of generate similar content with ChatGPT and some of the other chat interfaces, they have these templates that are really laser focused on different types of content that you can create. So here you can see, they have Amazon product descriptions and things like that, but they also have the ability to create blog posts, documents, and other things. Facebook ads, email subject lines, which can be helpful. I really like the explain it to a child is really useful too. So those are some pretty cool things. They have this paragraph generator. So I tested it out here. For example, write a short introduction for my presentation to legal tech professionals. I chose one tone of voice that was somber and one that was witty. I think you'll see which one is. So yeah, as I stand, I like this though. I kind of like it. As I stand before you today, I can't feel the weight of responsibility. So I find Jasper really useful for that as well. I should also mention, some of you may or may not be aware, but Google has started rolling out their AI generative tools called Duet AI for Google Workspaces. I've just started getting access to this, so they have things like these help me write things, which I haven't had a chance to check out yet, but they're just starting to roll. So, just a moment. So this is an example. This is one of our web pages on the Law Library website, and you'll see that we use, you may not know whether it's AI generated or not. You can certainly check it. Some images and text are AI generated, some aren't. But if you poke around on our website, you may find some things that are AI generated there as well. So I don't have a lot of experience with plagiarism AI checking, but I thought it was worth mentioning because I know it's a big topic for everyone and it's something worth checking out. At Yale, we do use Turnitin, or we have used Turnitin traditionally for plagiarism checking, and Turnitin has implemented an AI checker as well. GPT Radar, GPT-0, and OpenAI text classifiers are kind of just more run-of-the-mill AI. They check if something's written by an AI or not. And of course, those tools aren't perfect. You have to kind of take those with a grain of salt as well. Originality.ai kind of looks like it has some interesting features as well. Now we're going to start getting into some really good stuff. So AI agents are are tools that allow you to interact with other AI tools and run a series of tasks with minimal instructions. So AutoGPT and BabyGPT are kind of the most popular examples of it. This is an example of what AutoGPT looks like. It can be a little hard to read here, but I'll walk you through it. I gave it a task where I said, I want you to research the most recent Supreme Court decisions and then summarize them. So it gives itself a role. The role it's given itself is an autonomous agent that specializes in legal research and analysis, providing concise and accurate summaries of recent United States Supreme Court decisions. It states goals, And then it also tells you what it's thinking about the particular task. It's saying it's going to use Google to search for recent United States Supreme Court decisions, its reasoning, and then the overall plan that it wants to go through to complete all of those tasks. So here it says it's going to use Google to run the search. It's going to analyze the search results and then analyze those cases in under 200 words. And it'll check in with you if you want it to. It'll check in with you at every step because a lot of these tools cost money. And when it's interacting with different APIs, it can cost you money. So it'll ask you if you want to complete the task, and it'll tell you what the next task it wants to complete is. So this next task for this particular tool is it said it found a New York Times website that is titled Major Supreme Court Decisions, and it wants to use the browse website command to look at that particular website and look at recent Supreme Court decisions. I'm not going to get too into the weeds on images because I know we have an interesting presentation coming up that gets a little more into AI image creation, but there are a few different image creators you can use. We've had good results with DALL-E. So Nora and I had written an article for AALL Spectrum, the American Association of Law Libraries magazine. And as part of it, we created headshots with DALL-E. So AI generated headshots, and we tried to make clear that these were not actually headshots of Nora and I. The editors didn't seem to get the concept, so now we are forever immortalized in AALL Spectrum with headshots that are AI generated. Yeah. So this is Adobe Firefly, which I've been really interested in as well. So this is going to come up again later. Does anyone know who this is a bust of? Shout out. No one from Yale.
Teddy Roosevelt?
Yeah. I think I heard, yeah, Taft, William Howard Taft. So I'm not going to get into the long story about why I have a bust of William Howard Taft in my office, but I do. Adobe, I know there are other tools that do this, but Adobe Firefly is like the best one that I found so far, that at the click of a button, completely remove the background from the image. Really, really useful. And you'll see why I was doing that later in the presentation. So AI-generated presentations. I did try to use some of these tools to create this presentation, and I'll show you how those came out. Although I'll say that the reason I'm using just plain slides is because they didn't quite do what I wanted them to do, which is, of course, something we run into in these tools as well. So the first one I'm going to talk about is tone, which is actually really useful. So here's the one it created with my prompt that says, beyond ChatGPT, creates an introduction. It does create a lot of text. And then I don't know if you can tell on the image, but this is a superhero and the cape is on the front. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know what this image has to do with text generators. And then of course, as happens with AI often in image generation, the eyes sometimes kind of end up looking a little odd. The second one I did came out a little better, kind of just generally cyber techy, has that feel to it. So you can see that. So Canva, I like a little better. As you can see, it's not as much text. And the images do a little better here too. So this is a completely AI generated presentation. The text, the images, are completely AI generated. You know, other than this, you know, robot looking like he wants to destroy humanity. These images are pretty good, and the text is pretty good. Very useful. Okay, let me find that. Having trouble finding the mouse here. Let's try this. Yeah, sure. You wanna disappear on me? Oh, here it is. Did you get it? Yeah, thank you. Just needed someone else. Yep. All right. So talking about audio generation. So Google Labs has this product called Music LM, which is text to music generation. And so I asked it to create an upbeat electronic jazzy intermission with a bit of pop for a conference presentation. And this is what it came up with. Too bad. That's Music LM. The other one I was talking about is 11 Labs. So 11 Labs does text-to-speech audio generation. And one of the really cool and scary things about it is it will also clone voices. So I cloned my voice. I cloned the voice of Greg Lambert, who does the 3 Geeks and a Law blog. And so what I'm going to play for you now is a completely AI-generated podcast. So this is scripted by an AI with music by an AI host, and cloned voices of myself included.
Welcome to Law Library Chats, your go-to podcast for all things law and technology. We bring to you the most intriguing discussions from law librarians across the country. Today we have 2 distinguished guests with us, Jason from Yale Law Library and Greg from Jackson Walker LLP. Welcome, Jason and Greg.
Thanks for having me.
Pleasure to be here.
Let's dive right in. Jason, at Yale, what are some of the legal tech trends you're seeing?
Well, we're seeing a significant rise in the use of artificial intelligence, or AI, in legal research. Machine learning algorithms have advanced to the point where they can do things like predict case outcomes or even draft legal documents. It's also helping with legal analytics, giving insight into things like judges' ruling tendencies and law firm performance.
That's fascinating, Jason. We're seeing something similar here at Jackson Walker. AI is certainly changing the game in legal research and practice, but it's not just about AI. We are seeing a...
So I'm going to cut it off there, but it goes on for a little while. Yeah.
How much did you have to train it to do that? How
Not
much
at
time?
all. It took 2 minutes of audio from each of us.
Really?
Yeah.
That's not creepy at all.
Yeah. So and now I'm going to talk about a couple of. I'm going to finish up talking about a couple of video tools. So Synthesia, I'll show you in just a moment. The other one is DI. It allows you to create video that's kind of like an AI video. One of the things that's really cool about DID is it allows you to create your own avatar. For example, you can create an AI agent that is you. Let's take a look at that.
Hi, my name is Jason Eisman, and I am the Director of Library Technology and Planning at the Yale Law Library. In my role, I am always looking for ways to leverage new technologies to improve productivity and efficiency. Over the past few years, artificial intelligence has emerged as a tool that has the potential to significantly boost productivity in various ways. In today's talk, I want to highlight some of the promising AI-based productivity tools and resources that are emerging, beyond just conversational AI systems like ChatGPT. AI technologies like chatbots, virtual assistants, writing assistants, image generators.
So that's an AI image, an AI video of me with an AI voice cloned from 11 Labs, going through an introduction for this presentation. William Howard Taft. So the idea was to create a talking bust of William Howard Taft, but DID recognized it as a famous historical figure and wouldn't allow me to create a talking bus like William Howard Taft. You would think in terms of dangers talking William Howard Taft, the most dangerous thing out there, but they didn't want us to do that. Now, Tapping Reeve, the founder of the Litchfield Law School, the first law school in the country, is not apparently in their database. This, again, is a video that my colleague, Nora Ortiz, put together.
A crime is an act committed or omitted in violation of the law of the land, forbidding or commanding it. This is an injury done to the public. In crimes where life is concerned, they are called capital crimes. Smaller faults and omissions of less consequence are called misdemeanors. At common law, public and private actions are totally...
So that's video of a portrait of Tapping Reeve reciting actual lectures that he delivered at the Litchfield Law School. So you can imagine some of the possibilities of something like that, talking exhibits, talking portraits, things like that, which are pretty cool. So one of the really nice things about both these tools is that you can integrate them with things like Canva and PowerPoint. So.
Hi, my name is Jason Eisman and I am the Director of Library Technology and Planning at the Yale Law Library. In my role, I am always looking for ways to leverage new technologies to improve productivity and efficiency. Over the past few years, artificial intelligence has improved productivity in
AI-based productivity tools and resources that are emerging, beyond just conversational AI systems like ChatGPT. AI technologies like chatbots.
So DID integrates with Canva, the tool I talked about earlier. Synthesia integrates with PowerPoint really well, so that one is...
Hi, I'm Jason Eisman, Director of Law Library Technology and Planning at the Yale Law Library. Today, I'm here to talk about AI tools that are not ChatGPT.
First, we'll talk about chat interfaces like Claude and Bard. Then we'll move on to other tools.
And you have to remember to discuss the underlying models beneath the different AI tools.
Now that I have talked about these different AI tools, are there any questions?
Yeah, we decided we're going to take questions at the end of both of our presentations, if that's all right. But you can find my presentation at bit.ly/Cali-23. I also uploaded it to the site for presentations. Thank you.
Oh, wait a minute. Is this,
Yeah, you might want to
okay,
close
I need to
everything
get out
down.
of this stuff. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
I just went to the thing here. Okay. Hi, I'm Sue Altmeyer. I'm from University of Akron. I'm a law librarian there. I also teach legal writing, contract drafting, and social media and the law. So today I'm going to talk about, I figured there'd be a lot of conversation here about ChatGPT. I wanted to talk about ChatGPT's robot friends, other items besides, the language generators. So who are ChatGPT's robot friends? So we have, of course, the AI art generators, which we saw a little bit in Jason's presentation. And I'm going to touch on those, but there's a lot of other things to talk about. One thing I'll talk about is transcribers, which is something for handwriting generation. If you have a whole bunch of archival handwriting, you can translate that to text, even if it's in a different language or a very old writing style, something like that. language translation and how that's improved. I'm just going to touch on that really. Something called personalized learning, and I think that's going to get bigger in the future. There's also, I mean, as you know, there's also a lot of law, what I call law stuff that uses AI, and these have all been out for a while, such as contract review, dispute resolution, crowd prediction, sentencing recommendations, which is a little scary, and an argument for we definitely have to have human oversight. You know, when you want to be sentenced by the machine, I don't know, without a person looking at it. Discovery and legal research. I'm not going to talk too much about those things because I think they've been around for a while and we've seen those. So transcribers. So I will take you back in time to spring of this year when everybody's inboxes were exploding with emails about ChatGPT. And at the time I was working on something called, can I get rid of this box here? Oops.
There's a little X.
Oh, there's the little X, thank you. Is that,
It's the one right below it.
Yeah, in the black box is a little tiny X.
in the black box.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
To the right. Move to the right. Just
Okay, thank you, yay, okay. All right, so transcribers, I had a faculty member who was working on writing a book about Florence Ellenwood Allen. And Florence Ellenwood Allen was a judge from starting about 1911 through maybe about 1959. She was the first female appellate judge. So it's going to be a very interesting book. It's pretty close to being written. But in the process, you know, we discovered all these archival documents, diaries, writings of Justice Florence Allen. And so we thought it might be a good idea to try and put these through transcribers that translate the handwriting into text, okay? And then it could be searched and all kind of wonderful things like that. But, you know, it sounded a little bit intimidating to me, you know, translating all these archival documents. So I decided to procrastinate and ask ChatGPT to write me an essay about creative writing piece where Justice Florence Ellenwood Allen reports seeing Bigfoot. So here is my wonderful essay that ChatGPT wrote for me. You could see it starts out with that she was a trailblazer. So it pulls information, obviously, from the web, you know, some real information about her before it starts making up this stuff about, you know, it happened on a cool autumn morning and all this creative writing-y stuff. Okay, so I decided I wanted some pictures to go with my essay. So I went over to DALL-E and I went around and I played with a bunch of the different things just to see what it would come up with. So what these things are doing is they have a huge giant lake of pictures that they pull in and, you know, try and match what you want in your little text snippet that you type in. This wasn't too bad. I think the Bigfoot looks pretty much like Bigfoot. Not that I've seen Bigfoot, but you know, there's I think she's supposed to be Judge Allen. I'm not sure if he's a judge or a pilgrim or I don't know what that guy is, but it's entertaining anyway. So you know, this is great to entertain students and throw into your presentations. This one, I do not like their rendition of Bigfoot. That to me does not look like Bigfoot. They did well with the courtroom scene and yeah, she looks like a judge, so, you know, okay. And this is on Canva, and it's useful to know, I think, that Canva has AI built right into it, because I know a lot of people use that, you know, to make signs for your library and social media and stuff like that for your library. Okay, so here is an odd one. So this is Starry AI. So I uploaded a picture of Florence Allen from the internet. And my text I entered said, Florence Ellenwood Allen meets Bigfoot. So what it did was it took her picture and actually put like Bigfoot hair on it and like a Bigfoot nose. And it's just weird. I don't know. But maybe that's what you want to do. You want to start out with some picture and do a particular thing to it, or upload a couple of your own pictures and merge those together. So there's all kind of things these people, ooh, that's a little bit scary. These AI systems can do. So Pixray is one that you see they have different, they call them drawers here. A lot of these these AI art generators, they have different styles. You could pick like cartoon styles or artwork or something like that. This has 2 drawers. This one looks like it says vegan, but it doesn't. It says VQ-GAN. So VQ-GAN gives you sort of this like trippy electric Kool-Aid acid test sort of Bigfoot and the Judge thing. So I decided this would be useful for my class, and instead of my boring old diagram that's, made with PowerPoint and the little boxes of how the bill becomes a law, with arrows, so I made this very, psychedelic kind of bill. I did put in the text myself, like I went and I did like the HTML color matching and then just wrote in like those different words, but so you can, good things to liven up your class presentations. I also mentioned, you could use this for, library events and advertising events. Yeah, so they're having a fist fight in the law library. And we haven't resorted to that yet at Akron to try and draw students into the library, but maybe that's coming, I don't know. But, I think we're getting a treadmill desk, so maybe that'll do it. So, yeah, so you see, what this does is it kind of puts hands on people a lot, and sometimes if you look, you'll see these big stretched out arms, and just like hands cut out and put on people, and like, it's really weird if you look close at it. This woman looks like she's holding a little mouse, and that looks like a cat's paw, and it just comes up with all kind of strange things. So it's a great time waster, I guess, if you want to just have fun with it. But Transcribus. Okay, back to Transcribus here, and we'll talk about what happened with that. So they have 2 different versions, one of which is called Transcribus Lite, and you don't have to download anything, and you get 500 handwritten pages for free, or 3,000 printed pages that you can crank into this thing, and they have a bunch of public AI models that they've already made for certain languages and centuries of writing and stuff like that. You can actually apply for a grant from them or a scholarship if you're working on some project, and they will actually let you have more pages for free. When I first started using this in January, it seemed like the processing took a long time, sometimes like at the end of the day, but it seems a lot faster now for whatever reason, I don't know, but I'll just throw that out. So here's an example of one of their models. You can have, 18th century Dutch, for example. So here is like the main screen in Transcribus, so you can just, it tells you how many pages you have left in your free pages, or if you buy some, I guess how many you have left then. So you can click on text recognition and see, so I'm going to pick English. I could pick handwritten or typewritten. You can upload a PDF or an image. And so here's an example of, and of course, it's like when you're doing OCR, and it depends what quality documents that you have. And if you have a decent quality document like this is very close. This person must have studied in school cursive very nicely. This is a writing from the 1950s from the Sam Shepard digital project that we did at Cleveland State, where the one of the neighbors was maybe giving a hint as to what the murder weapon might be. This was a murder case in the 50s, and saying it could be the camshaft from Dr. Shepard's Jaguar is the murder weapon. So I don't know if that was helpful to police or not, but anyway, so you see her handwriting is very nice and very good. So the translation is pretty accurate, although not 100% accurate, right? And it also puts these lines in. The purpose of those lines is sometimes when you have something handwritten, it'll go like, there'll be things in the margins and every which way. So it has lines in there to indicate, it matches up with the numbers on the side. And then when you go through and correct, you can correspond to, even if things are not in straight lines in your document. Okay, so compare that nice writing to, this is Judge Florence Ellenwood Allen's diary. And by the way, for some reason, she wrote a lot about, I guess she was a fitness nut before it became cool, because she wrote a lot about like what she had to eat that day and if she went on a walk or something like that. But that's beside the point. So I tried the light version. I didn't get really good results. You see that this was before there were ballpoint pens. It's kind of messy writing, etc. So I get sighing the chi dini miswas out new count. So I don't know what that is. So I decided, okay, maybe I'll try and make my own customized model, because that's the other cool thing about Transcribus, is that you can try and make a customized model, customizing it to maybe that person's exact handwriting. All right, so that gets us into, I guess, this is just a little 10-cent explanation of how AI platforms work. They take data lakes and question snippets, and they, billions of parameters that are constructed by software processing huge archives of images and text. And the AI platforms, they recover patterns and relationships that they use to make rules, and that's how they make their model. And then that model's used to make judgments and predictions. I don't know, that helped me a lot. That's from Harvard Business Review. That helped me a lot as far as figuring out what this stuff really does. So we've seen or heard references to training AI. So what does that even mean? Just a very simple explanation. You gather a pool of high quality data, then just let it go, let your AI make decisions on it, make adjustments, but do not overfit. Because if you try and make it just specific, like exactly to that data set, that training set you put in, then if you put in something slightly different, it's not going to know what to do with it. So then yeah, you can test it and try and account for new variables, etc. Okay, so here I go through the process, but I'm not going to go through all of this of how you can make your own customized text recognition model in Transcribus. So we see, I will mention the first step though, because you need about 75 pages of high quality handwriting that you could translate, and maybe you could see where this is where my little project is going at this point and what happened with that. That's a little bit of foreshadowing, I guess. But all right, we won't talk about that. Yeah, okay, so here it is. So not only was the Florence Allen diaries, they were old, not the best quality, but I found out later that I could not read a lot of it because it was either in shorthand or Greek. So that was a problem. Because to make your training data, to make your training set, you have to have something like this and then go through and correct all of that so it's correct, and then that's your training model. So if nobody knows, I want to say nobody knows in the world is going to be able to read some of this. I don't know. At that point, I have to tell you, don't be disappointed in me, but I kind of put the project on the back burner. But I might go back to it to try and figure out if this can in fact happen. The other interesting thing is when you put all that in, yeah, you save a small amount as a validation set, and it actually kicks out an email with an error rate for you to let you know, and if it says if you're less than 10%, then you're good to go. But I have not gotten to that stage yet personally. So that's Transcribus. It's pretty cool. There's other handwriting recognition apps. They're more for people like us to use for meeting notes or something like that, like MS OneNote, not so much for archival handwriting, nor can you make your own model. Okay, I'm going to talk just a little tad about translation software because it's so important for international law, right? So they still recommend, this was a recent book chapter I cited at the bottom of the slide, they still recommend that you use a human translator if you're doing something at a law firm and it's something real important to a client. Now for our little law school pretend world, it might be okay if they just went on the web and used Google Translate, and that's maybe good enough. But in the real world, you should have a human translation. You can use AI to verify that human translation, which I thought was pretty interesting, though. Yeah. So this is my boss, Carrie Lohmeyer. I mentioned her because she is she does a lot of international research. She is a big user of DeepL, and is pretty satisfied with that translation. And that is more of an AI-powered translator. So if you're looking for a good one to use for your international law stuff, foreign law stuff, that's a good one. Personalized learning. So there's other systems out there like this, but the one I guess I chose to put on this slide is called Cogni. And it's not free, it's something that you pay for, but you can go out on the web and there's various videos of it. But what it does is it has chatbots on it, automatic chatbots. So the student will put in an answer and then wham, the computer kicks out some kind of feedback of like, oh, you're missing this, that, and the other, and that happens in real time. They don't have to wait for me, the teacher, to go on and make comments about it. So it's pretty cool for the students. This is a screenshot from Cogni anyway, but you see we have a prompt, and then the student starts typing something in, and then boom, this pops up right away. This is a good start. What is the last stage described in the passage? So it's prompting it like, talk about this last part more. So that's pretty cool. Oh, and there's other stuff that's been around, like does anybody use spaced repetition at their school? Yeah, I mean, that's AI based and is very cool, good for bar studying and studying for law school in general, that it will, it keeps track of what students get right or wrong on flashcards and then kicks those flashcards out at specified intervals to help them memorize it, as well as, kicks out the ones more often that the student got wrong. So that's AI based. Grammarly was already mentioned. I use Grammarly a lot. I tell my writing students to use Grammarly a lot. That's pretty much embedded in my life now. So AI, yay. So coming soon to an LMS near you. So I hope it comes to an LMS near me because I think it would save me a lot of work. We use Brightspace at U Akron, and to an extent it has stuff like this, but not really. I mean, we have the quizzes that are on there. You can have short answers and you can put in sort of your answer, but I feel it doesn't work that well, and this is supposed to work a lot better. So you have, that's the other thing too. I mean, they could get instant feedback on multiple choice questions, but it's not going to be, as quite as in-depth or, thorough, I guess, as doing something short answer. Okay, so, and they're also in these LMSs of the future, insert AI chatbots, so the student can actually be talking to someone, I guess a chatbot, personalized learning paths, kind of the idea of anybody use core grammar for lawyers, and you can test out of things, and I mean, that's not AI at all, but it's kind of the same concept. And better data collection on learners to find ideal content. Like right now, our LMSs give us those stats, right, that says who looked at what and things like that, but it's supposed to get even better. And the last thing I will mention here, I guess I'm flying through this pretty fast, but there'll be lots of question and answer time. So a student told me about this, and I have not tried to install this yet. It's sort of a installation process. Did somebody do this out there? Okay, I thought somebody did. I thought I heard someone. But this will make you look like you're looking into the camera when you're on Zoom. Yeah, you could be totally looking away or looking at your notes, and however this works, gaze redirection it's called. So yeah, anyway, so I have the YouTube up there. Somehow I will, I don't know, get you these slides. I could put it on the web or something. You could email me, saltmeyer@uakron.edu. And now it is question and answer time.
Can you be asleep?
Can you be asleep? You might be able to, because I think it puts, let's go back to this slide. Like if his eyes are closed, I think it might put little eyeballs on him,
For the video.
What's that?
For the video.
Oh, we could, I guess.
Do you struggle with eye contact whilst you're talking to a webcam during a meeting, or when you're making content, or when you're just live on Twitch, or whatever else you want to be doing? Well, today I'm going to do a full download and install of the Gaze Redirect AI eye facial recognition. It will keep your eyes on the webcam at all times. As you can see, my eyes have not left the webcam the whole time. But I'll show you in a second. I've been looking around the whole screen. I've hardly looked at the webcam even once, and you can barely even see it with my eyes. They might flutter around a little bit, but it is absolute essential tool if you're trying to use a script and read towards a webcam. So as you can see here on the left here is my original video with my eyes are going all over the place. I'm not really even looking at the webcam at all. Over here on the right.
Okay. It's still pretty cool though, right? Yeah. Other questions? Questions for Jason?
Jason, when you made those videos of other people using your voice, were they friendlier, more percent friendly?
I don't know. I will. So in 11 labs, you can. I didn't go through it, but there are different settings on the voices. So you can kind of give a description of voices, which will change how the voices sound a little bit. And then you can also change, for example, clarity and stability. So I shared that podcast with Greg Lambert, and one of the things we found, it doesn't sound realistic because real people say, take breaks, pauses, things like that. And the AI voices are a little too clean. But you can change the stability of it so that it sounds a little more like it's taking a breath and those kinds of things. And you can also adjust. You can make it sound more energetic, more somber, friendlier. Yes, maybe I should do that.
Yes.
I have a question. So why would we use AI tools to build images instead of just using our tried and true tools that we've all had in our toolboxes to create images? Like, what's the advantage?
I guess just possibly getting more of what you want. I mean, usually what I do I use just Google Images or just something like, various websites that you could use to find copyright-free images. And I guess I can mention that too. I mean, people have discussed the copyright issues with these, and I suppose, first of all, it's educational use for us, and it's transformative, so I suppose it's less of a copyright issue. I suppose if you just go on what you usually do, and you can't find specifically what you want, or if you want something crazy or that really doesn't exist or something, such as Florence Allen meeting Bigfoot, or you want it, you want to specify something, say if you want to put together a packet for a legal research problem, and have it be more like, like a record, like an appellate court record, you can have more control over telling it what to do, like, I want the car crash to look like this, or something like that. But not that you can't use things that you've already used. Jason has an answer, yes.
I mean, for me, it's time. When you have a website and you have all these places where you need to have images, and every blog post needs to have an image, and you need images for this, that, and the other thing. I mean, the amount of time you can spend going through, Google or wherever, looking for different images, making sure they're royalty-free, all of these kinds of things, as opposed to being able to plug in some text and get a number of usable images that you can use right away on a website is a huge time saver. And so I can work on other things. And then even for like presentations and things like that, instead of having to I need an image that represents this, I need an image that represents that, you can have an AI tool do that, and then you can work on the content of the presentation.
Makes sense, thanks.
Thanks.
So, Jason, you mentioned some of the ChatGPT AI checkers, and that they're not terribly reliable. What advice do you give faculty who want to test this so that they have something they're comfortable using maybe, but don't turn into the Texas professor?
I think that could be a whole presentation by itself. My personal approach would be to tell them that they could use AI and have just cite it. Or something along those lines.
No, that's for students. What would you tell a professor who was worried about students using it in his class?
I would tell them that they need to either allow students to use it and, to kind of make it okay so that they would know about it, or, somehow incorporate it into the class. It's going to be, I think probably it's just going to be a constant battle with, every time a tool is like, oh, we can check it with this percentage accuracy or something, someone's going to come up with something new that can't be detected.
Right.
I'd like to, if I could just I'd say, do they worry about people hiring someone to write articles?
Yes.
And then I would say it's a really bad look when you're assuming that your students are all just trying to cheat, and that no one likes to be taught by someone who is actively treating them as a potential enemy. That's what I would say.
I don't disagree.
Yeah, I mean, I for my class, for my legal writing class, I told them that they could go ahead and use it just because I thought I don't think it's there yet as far as being able to generate a really great brief. Maybe I'm wrong about that, but that's what I decided, and that's what I'm going with, I guess. But yeah, because I put it, they talk about, it making up cases, and I asked it we were working on a copyright issue, and I asked it some questions, and the answer that it gave me were incorrect. And, I just felt that every student in my class knew more about the subject than the ChatGPT did. So I thought, okay, just use it. And maybe there's something about having them learn how to use it. So maybe when they're an attorney, they could use it for good instead of evil.
Well, just a comment really on the question. For my midterm, I had a research problem that at least one student submitted to ChatGPT and didn't bother to edit at all. And it was fairly easy to tell because it hallucinated all of the citation. So he got a 0 for that, not because I didn't prohibit ChatGPT, and I wouldn't have. The problem was it didn't show me that he knew how to do legal research at all. So there's that, and that is what I would suggest to colleagues, is to look for hallucinations.
Yeah, I think so, and maybe just that robot tone, yes.
We have colleagues on campus who are using 11 Labs.
Yep.
To update so many of their voiceovers. So if they're doing a voiceover PowerPoint and they're going to say fall 23 instead of fall 22, also to build those audio introductions to new modules in their in the LMS. So they say we overestimate the production values of what we're doing. So it's not perfect, so I'm not going to use it. I'm going to record it on my scratchy, crummy phone in a moving car. Because the students will appreciate the quality. But what they found is that it really is a time saver, because I'm essentially saying the same thing. I'm just adding a few updates. That's text-based. Boom. It's close enough to my voice that it's not a problem. We're trying to get people in law to do that because, for example, admissions, we have so many micro modules for prospective students that need to be updated every semester, or sometimes twice a semester, with new dates and things like that. And to be able to do that through 11 Labs, the student doesn't know, well, you have a bit of an accent. In real life, you don't have that. So that's one productivity benefit to using that.
Yeah, I mean, we used to find the same thing. We had these videos that we would do, and they go out of date so fast, and it's so hard to keep them updated. So having tools like these that you can just re-record audio like that is huge.
Yes, Chris.
I mean, I actually, my response would be, we don't need to be talking about how to keep them from using it. We need to be teaching them how to use it responsibly. Because the firms, I was doing a project and having a conversation with law firm folks, and the breadth of the difference in how ChatGPT was viewed by the law firm versus by the panicked faculty trying to amend the honor code was stunning. And so if we forbid them from using it in law school, they are going to be without a skill that they need. And to be honest, I think we can build on, because now people are talking about how do you write the prompt, right? We need to train them how to write the prompt, and we hopefully have been teaching them how to write the search. And it's the same concept. So that's the conversation I would have with them, which is probably what everybody else would do.
Other questions, comments, sharing experiences? Yes.
We have a faculty member who teaches tax who did a midterm this semester, and he purposely had one of his colleagues take his midterm and run it through ChatGPT. And he didn't know which set of answers belonged to whom, like we assigned anonymous numbers. And that exam was so different than the rest of them that he immediately knew. And ChatGPT also added information to the answer that he hadn't taught yet. So, but there was no way for ChatGPT to know with just the blanket question that he asked. So I think it made him feel a little bit better about things. And his exam was one that we don't use with secure software because of the nature of formulas and stuff like that that students have to write. So they submit it as a Word document or a PDF. I can't remember. But anyway, I thought that was a good example of, and I asked him later, and I knew which numbers were which, and I read them, and it's like, this one doesn't sound anything like the other ones. And he said, yeah, it was really clear to him pretty quick.
Yeah. I mean, I guess the thought what people say is these things are just going to get better in the future, but I don't know. We'll see what happens. I still think that probably we would be able to tell.
I mean, people don't study up past their tax stuff, right? So no
no.
one's over reading tax in the middle of the semester to have a leg up at this point, And some classes may be different, but that was an interesting example, I thought.
Oh yeah. Anybody else? Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks.
They gotta be looking classic. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I no, there are disputes about Philadelphia. No.